what Fridays are for, right? Oh,
That's
I'm
right.
so I'm so glad that you got that recording in progress because after I said that other thing.
Yep.
You're good, Squire. You're good.
I have my
Um,
moments.
I know, right? Right. Did we have any questions in the community this week?
No, I
No,
didn't see
it's
anything, but it
quiet. It's
doesn't
quiet.
mean I missed it. I mean, I miss it all the time, so it's probable, but
It's possible, but well, yeah. That means we get to talk about things like your favorite summer activity that you got to do. Check out your bucket list this week. And oh,
yeah.
maybe you guys have questions. I don't know. We'll get there. Okay. So today is August 15th. It's the third Friday of August. Welcome to MVP Office Hours. We're so glad you're here. Lots of familiar faces, some new faces too. It's great. Um, you registered at the bit.ly/MVPOH, and then the recordings are available at YouTube at MVPOHUS. Because, well, we used to have other MVP office hours that were not in the US, and so we had to balance it somehow. Our next meeting is September 5th, which is the Friday after Labor Day. Um,
Yeah. Yes.
and so it'll be a short week, and then you can, wrap up with us. Um, Our LinkedIns are up on the screen. We do have a Gmail account, but that is not actively followed with. And so if you have a question, please put that into the community. And I think, can we get the community link in the chat for the folks so that they can jump in if they're not already a member with that.
I'll take care.
We do have some upcoming events. There's Witness Success. Gosh, that's next week. And Brazil Dreaming, which I'm not going to, but that'd be fun to go to Brazil. Is anyone going to Brazil? That'd be great. Um, and then Forcelandia, Quick also, and Mile High Dreamin'. So that's all before the end of August. That's all before we meet next. And Northeast Dreamin' in Boston. SoCal Dreamin', South California Dreamin'. I don't know how they're like talking about that. Because I just read about it, I don't hear about it. Does that make sense? And then Dreamforce, October 14th. We're super excited about it. Is anyone going to Dreamforce? Hands up, hands down, all the things. Okay, I'll be there. If you're there, find me and then make sure you give me some context because I am just lost. I'm like, oh wow, how do I know you? And then it's like this light bulb and it's really great. And then after Dreamforce, there's Florida Dreamin' in Tampa. So if you have an opportunity to go to any of the community events, go to those. If you have an opportunity to go to the big Salesforce events, go to those. I encourage it only because when you get to meet people that you see on the screen like this, you get to meet them in person. It's a whole nother thing. For more information, salesforce.com/events or trailhead.salesforce.com/community/conferences. And like I said, I was trying to learn how to use my computer today. Um, Ground rules. If Kathy. All right, I'm sorry, friends. Kathy just totally derailed me. She put a little question in the chat. She's like, Joy, how many coffee crisps do you need? Oh, I need them all. They're so good. They're so good. It's like the most delicious like Canadian treat that Kathy like brings me at events that we're both at. And have you guys ever had those like peanut butter chocolate wafer bars? Um, it's coffee.
Like a Nutter Butter, right?
Yeah, like
But
another butter.
coffee.
It's not peanut butter, it's coffee, and it's so good. They make me very happy. I digress. All right, ground rules. We invite everyone to share their experience and their insights and all their ideas with the group because we're trying to come together and get a broader understanding, a broader perspective of the problems that we're having. Post any links or resources that you have in the chat. If you have a question, put it in the chat or raise your hand. Please, 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 please do not share any private information, any private customer information, any private information. Sandboxes only, please. Um, we don't want you to get in trouble. We don't want to have any problems because this is recorded. And under no circumstances can our call be transcribed by an AI tool. We want to have fun. Let's stay professional and positive because, we all like to keep our jobs.
Yep.
And once again, in bright orange because, Taylor Swift told us orange is the color. Life of a showgirl, right? Remember, we're recording the session.
Mhm.
All right. So,
One last thing.
yeah.
We haven't done this in a long time, and I shouldn't say a long time, in a while, but I just want to, how about some big thank yous for everyone every week joining,
Oh, yeah.
helping? So many people are affected by what we do, whether you realize it or not. The number of times I get little pings or chats or like a drive by at a user group or something where someone's like, "Hey, thank you for helping us." and like, hey, how do
Mhm.
I get a hold of, I mean, everyone on this call, their voices are really powerful. So thanks for being
Mhm.
here every week. So
We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Yay! Oh, hey, there's the link. MVP community group. All right. We have no questions right now. Do we have any questions in the chat, Squire?
there was something about sandboxes from Michael, but he knows sandboxes, so I bet you there's more to it than that. And Will, did you really want to talk about industry commons, or were you being snarky?
No, really. So if allowed,
Yeah.
I left Sales and Service Cloud and have now been introduced into the world of industry commons or industries common. And yeah, that's a whole new world.
It's a new cubbyhole for you, huh? I can't
And
say I've been there, but
but yeah, Squire, are you the only person on the call that's been there? Like I know you're in Finance Cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give any props as far as commons because it's really been so focused in FSC that I haven't really spread my wings, but I need to be. So tell us about it.
Well, is anybody, let's just take a poll to see where things are at because sandbox best practices is good and that's universal. But anybody else been or is in industries common?
Can you define that? Do you mean any of the industry clouds like nonprofit cloud, education cloud, financial services cloud, health cloud?
Yep. And so it comes with a whole suite of additional tools and functions that are just not accessible to Sales and Service Cloud. So three examples that I'm not sure if I love them or hate them yet, but it's OCR is available in Industry Common. You have Omni Studio and FlexiCards.
And you have various Lightning Web components that can go on your Lightning pages.
I'm sure that I haven't even gotten that deep yet. I'm sure there's additional components that come with it too. Oh, and I forgot about, I'm sure Squire is going to love this one, is the party relationship groups.
Party really? I don't know if I've
And
seen
the
really.
data processing engine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Data
Yeah.
process. Business rules engine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that one I do like. We haven't had a chance to use it, but like on paper, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, so if there's no other questions and nobody else pops in, let's talk about the good stuff and what we like. Because I'm getting into it. So business rules engine is actually something I'm working on an active project on. And
is
yeah.
there someone at your door?
Oh, no.
Just like turn and look, and you're like, oh.
No, my bad habit is I look outside to think or I look up to think and
It's all
that's
good.
outside.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So
Look at that.
maybe Squire, you can help tee up like the business rules engine because I'm just a novice at it. But
Yep, me too. I just like I said, on paper, like the little bit of reading that I've done has been. Well, Michael, you've used it, right?
I've not used the business rules engine. I've attempted to consider thinking about if anyone will ever know how to use the data processing engine,
Oh, okay.
to which I answer no.
wait, so does anybody have any experience with any of these pieces of the puzzle?
So I will say when it comes to the DPE, the data processing engine, which I wrote about 18 months ago because I was thrown into it doing a nonprofit cloud implementation, which I will never do again. I started asking around people who work at medium and large consultancies. Granted, this was 18 months ago. Hey, does anyone where you work know how to edit or understand a data processing engine definition, such as the one that they give you with Nonprofit Cloud that had errors in it? And the answer I got was universally no. There's not a single person in our organization who knows how to work that thing. In the year and a half since, I think I've gotten two people who said, yes, we have someone in our organization who can do it. They work at a larger consultancy.
But they only had a person.
Exactly.
Well, in industries common is for those who've been around longer can maybe calibrate. It's all the purple branding that Salesforce has on the products. And as far as I can tell, that's only been around for maybe 5 years.
It's all from the purchase of Velocity.
Oh, is that it's all from Velocity?
I don't know if it all is, but my understanding is that's where it originates.
Yeah, I mean, I do know a lot of the FSC purples are velocities, but I don't. Does any of that translate over to the other clouds, or is it kind of the other way around of like, how do we make these things work with the clouds, like Health Cloud and things like that?
They do translate over to the other clouds. It's not clear to me, like, so the list that Dodie pasted in, I'm not clear if for any given cloud you get all of those things or all of the common components, but any given cloud seems to pick and choose what things from other clouds you get by having the permission set license that goes with that cloud.
Right.
Well, and I can validate, at least for public sector, I'm looking through the list and uh, I'm hitting 80 to 90% are there. And I'm even talking the base SKU for public sector solutions.
Yeah, and I don't know that anyone at Salesforce has ever sort of transparently said what the plan is, but the idea is there's all these, they call them Lego pieces, right? There's all these Lego pieces that are the industry common components, and by being on an industry's cloud, you get access to them. But it's just not 100% clear to me if you would always get access to all of them. And as I posted my blog post, as I discovered very early on, just because you lift one of these industry components from one of the other clouds, including from an older, more established cloud, doesn't mean they work the way you might want them to, either in general or in your new cloud.
Mm-hmm. Which is kind of common for how any acquisition has worked within the ecosystem.
Sure. For sure.
And I think that's a little bit why that it feels a little bit like three-card money, in that you see the cloud, you see this list of cool stuff you get by buying, say, FSC. I'm speaking for my own benefit. And then you're like, ooh, action plan. I could use that in Sales Cloud. Well, no, you couldn't. Or, well, you could if you now buy these PSLs to get the industry cloud common add-on. But then you're like, well, why would I? When there are features that are already have some parity, or maybe you've already figured out a way to do it better. Like for me, not bashing it, because I'm sure there's great use cases, but I've yet to see why I would want Omni Studio. I understand the value of Omni Studio, but I don't understand why I would want it.
I would totally agree with that. I think my example is the data processing engine. So the cool trick that the data processing engine does is it can process large volumes of data somewhere off platform, so you're not subject to whatever limits. That is a huge black box that nobody understands, but I guess that's a cool benefit. But except when you're processing huge volumes of data that you couldn't do on platform or without whatever workarounds we might come up with, I don't see any admin building a DPE definition to do anything that they could potentially do in Flow. Or Omni Studio is a good example of the same thing, right? If you could do it in a ScreenFlow, do it in a ScreenFlow, because this call and a million other members of the community can help you with your ScreenFlow if you have a question, but not if you're building an Omni Studio or a DPE.
Yeah.
And I'll even add on to that, the business rules engine, when I saw what, like, again, on paper, the idea of like this advanced executable path of transformation, and kind of almost like ETL, like sort of procedure kind of mentality. But the first thing I thought, I was like, yeah, if you were dealing with millions of records, like you might be in a financial services or in like insurance world, you might need to push that off board, because you don't want to write an integration, or you don't want to pull everything onto platform and do it. But then I was like, but we can do that. We've got tools and developers and functions that help us with that sort of stuff. So maybe let's circle back really quick. So like, Will, where are you seeing, like, what's making you smile other than having a list of new things to learn, which is always exciting? But...
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, that is, it comes to coming from Sales and Service Cloud and seeing the new tools and then seeing them applied in a public sector application actually became pretty liberating. Now, public sector is considerably, it seems like it's the SKU is more, lists more expensive than Sales and Service Cloud, but you get a lot more. There's applications there. So let me give a specific example. Let's do a poll. How many people have ever filled out a government form? And how amazing are those?
Right, right.
So part of what we're doing is digitizing these government forms for public benefits, SNAP, TANF, emergency assistance. You can go down the laundry list. And at the end of those forms, you have a business decision that needs to be made as to whether somebody is going to receive a benefit in addition to how much. So it's kind of like in the insurance industry, you fill out an application. We're going to determine if you're eligible for the insurance product, and then we're going to give that out and even tell you how much you're going to get or what your premium should be. That's actually what you see in Trailhead when you do some of the learning on it, is they talk about insurance, and that's the path of going down. But what I see from like a full picture, Squire, is like some of those government forms, there are questions that I love to pick on because they're very specific, and they'll say things like, since August 22nd of 1996, have you ever ... You're never going to store that data in Salesforce because it doesn't make any sense. It's a simple yes, no question.
Right.
So then you get into something called the discovery framework. So check, there's an industry common feature you're using. So it allows you to create all these assessments that you may not be storing the data in Salesforce in a traditional ERD or some of the core data tables. And then as you go through this process, you get to the end of you use the UI, you ingest the data, and then you can use something like the business rules engine to do those funny calculations that a lot of these public benefits or like an insurance industry needs to do, to compare of like, your income is this, your income is that, where are you on the federal poverty level, what should your insurance premium be? Can you do that in code? Yeah, absolutely can. Could you do it in a flow? It can be considerably more complex, but you can do it. So then you get so that's where the business rules engine comes into play. And then on the end of that, you can do things like there's PDF generation that's a part of that as well. And so then you can generate all that into the same old government form that looks like awful as an output at the end of the day. So that's kind of what I'm seeing as it, and that's why it's exciting, but it's also like, well, wait, how are people using this tool? And it's those interesting edges that as a experienced consultant, you're like, I know what these rough edges are and how to avoid them.
So when maybe it goes along with the last thing you said. So the business rules engine use case that we had that kind of got us exploring it was that a lot of times, especially in financial services, there's a lot of these Excel plugins that do really unique calculations based on your vertical. And there's the thought of being able to do it with code or with flow, because of the complexity of those plugins, is maybe, I'm going to say undoable, but that's not a word. So so we were looking at something like a rules engine to jump off and then leverage other processing functions to do some of this work. And is that kind of what you're suggesting with your use case? Is that being able to do these large, abstract, difficult to reproduce calculation engines from like the government side?
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Yep. Yeah. So to give a simple example, let's say you needed rental assistance. There are a bunch of logic, you just have to go through a bunch of logic, and that includes taking household calculations. So each federal program, and I shouldn't even say federal, a lot of public benefits have their own unique rules. So Squire, you come to me and you're a couple with a kid that's 19 years old, is in college. You apply for one program, you may count that college kid's income, but you go for a different program and their income is no longer counted because the rules are different. And so that's where you can create, as you said, Lego blocks of things, right? So the federal poverty level is always going to be the same federal poverty level. It's the same numbers year over year. I shouldn't say year over year. They update them every year. And that's where you can get into those data tables and you can start storing them. So it's just an interesting set of features to discuss with those who've used them or studied them, because there's potential, but as I try and dive into this community, it seems like the utilization or knowledge base is slim.
Yeah.
And Will, the person I'm going to mention to you to maybe reach out and get you his email, who has connected government entity stuff with other government entities. He's not on this call, but he is a certified technical architect and one of the smartest people ever. So he would have done those Lego blocks for a state. His name is Nate Schilling.
Okay.
So if you reach out to me, I can get you his email.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, really down to earth, and he explains things really well too.
Yeah. And part of it is back to Squire's question earlier of like, are you just excited for new tools? I mean, yeah, like
Yeah,
who's
sure.
not? But I've also learned that within the ecosystem, as with anything in life, is, you got to understand how to operate that tool effectively.
Yeah.
And any good admin or developer, you need to know your tools well so you don't end up investing hundreds or thousands of hours into a design that you later are like, I just wish I had known this.
Yeah. I'm going to throw one other thing out there that I probably should have led with, which is and correct me if I'm wrong or agree if you think the same. We've been doing this a long time, a lot of us, and some of these tools we had to already build our version of. And so sometimes you're kind of like, why would I ever use that when we did it so much better? But a newer admin or the new generation of admins might really need Omni Studio. And so I want to make sure that I reiterate, like, my lack of excitement about implementing these is not because they're bad. It's just because we built our own action plan feature functionality. We leverage, interest tags in our own special way, and it works great. So why would we ever do it their way? But there's really good reason to use them.
So
Yeah.
I hate to, like, I feel like this always becomes my role as the resident skeptic. I agree with what Squire just said, but what I found when I was dropped into trying some of these things in Nonprofit Cloud in its early days, but still, is I don't think Squire's wrong that some of them could be really useful in their context, but they're not necessarily fully tested or fully thought out or fully, I don't know what the right word is. So in my blog post, I mentioned, for example, they lifted the timeline component that's from Financial Services Cloud to use in Nonprofit Cloud. And I'm sure their thought process was, Financial Services Cloud has been around for a while. Big banks pay tons and tons of money. It must be a great thing. But in practice, oh, and by the way, I looked at their demo org. So I'm like, okay, if it's their demo, they must think it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread because they're showing off the best stuff, right? So the timeline component is on there, and they've removed the activity feed because they've replaced it with the timeline component. Well, it doesn't work that way because the timeline component lacks the ability to click the send email button. It does, however, have a little caret in which, if you're displaying emails, there's a caret and you can choose new email. Only that does not send an email. It attempts to create an email message record, but some of, I mean, I detailed it in my blog post, but you can't create an email message record. That's not how Salesforce works, right? You have to use the send email component or whatever. You have to do special stuff. But the timeline component just
because
exposes
email's
that.
special. Yeah.
And I actually, thank you, Squire. I actually, because of my complaint about that, spoke to the product developer who built that component. And they were like, oh, fascinating. We never built that to display email messages.
Hmm.
Great. Then no one else should ever use it to display email messages.
Then block it. They found the
Yep.
hole in the bucket. They found the loophole. They always do.
You gotta, I think all of those toys are fascinating. Approach them with serious skepticism and serious functional testing before they go in front of your client users.
Yeah. Well, I think that could be the headline of the whole conversation, right? Is and this circles around a lot of the conversations that have come up on this call over the years of just know the tools, know them well. And if you don't, hey, look at this
Test
group.
them.
Call
Test them.
people, test them.
Yeah.
Test them.
Yeah.
You all have a dev org for like something in your household, right? Everyone has a dev org for something. Test it at home, test it in the playground, test it on Trailhead, test it before you roll it out for a client for sure.
Yeah. Squire, to your, I don't know any use case for OmniScript. Here's what I'll leave you with.
Okay.
When I started, I kind of asked the same question of like, what's this for? Like, it looks duplicative in a way. And basically what I was told is it's both Omni Studio and FlexiCards were summarized to me as there's something they're basically placed between a flow and code. So there's more tools, more capabilities available. Flow will probably catch up in reciprocity,
Right.
I would imagine, in the near future with some of the stuff they're coming out with. I don't know what the declarative alternative is to a LWC from code, but that's what a
Yeah.
FlexiCard is able to do for you.
Yeah, and maybe we just haven't in my experience, I haven't seen it at its peak function. Like it still was just a screen flow, a really good, well-designed screen flow. And so I was like, okay. I also want to add too, like to where we kicked this off, that velocity purchase. I don't know if we ever really heard what about that package was what made Salesforce buy it. But I do know that it's all so knotted that, I'm going to make something up and say Salesforce saw the value in the data processing engine. So let's buy that velocity package. And we're just going to kind of pretend the rest of it's a benefit, but we really only bought it for one piece of it, maybe. So sometimes we've seen that with other things too. I mean, look at the Marketing Cloud purchases and the Pardots. And it's like, yeah, there's one or two things that are really cool, and that's all we really want, but we can't pull it apart. So we're going to get it all and try to find a good way to use it. And so,
well, and that goes to the always difficult design conversation of reading the tea leaves of where the future is headed.
Yeah. Yep.
Michael, have you started using the new stuff?
We are in the process of transitioning to it because we don't have a ton of approval processes in play. So we were looking at moving over because it's like 4. I think we have to like 4. But talking about like I've been doing this for 10 years and now I'm doing this. Kind of was like if I were brand new, it'd probably be less frustrating. But as a seasoned veteran, it feels like a lot more work, but I think part of that is kind of built into that old.
Let me take one step
wizard.
backwards real quick because I didn't say anything about approvals. I just assumed everyone was reading the chat also. The approvals process, as we all know, is rather archaic and I believe still really resembling classic. But the new approvals orchestration doesn't count against the orchestration numbers credits, however that's categorized and counted. That was something that I had gotten started with. And then I got moved to a different project. And so it was a whole different thing. But like, let me just tell you, the old way, the old approvals, I could handle that. I could do that upside down, backwards, inside out, all that. This new one, I was like, wait, what? Because I'm still working on my friendship with Flow. Christy, you're laughing because you tried to. You tried to help me.
No, that's okay. I'm laughing at the new approval process because I was trying to do it before I changed projects myself. And I was like, what fresh hell is this? And so I gave it to the developers who have more time. And now my son, because he was the product owner on that project I was on, he went and built one. And he's like, they send the node name to the end user on the default email. I'm like, wait, because you're naming things so the developer knows what the name of what's going on, not the end user's email. And I'm like, I guess I would then always use a custom email because
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those for sure where you want to learn this in your sandbox and send those and just thoroughly go through it because it is the screen displays are dev focused or like based on what you write in there and just seeing where everything lands and how it's a little bit different. Like it's different. And but it's very powerful. I mean, decisions and subflows, you can do a whole bunch of great stuff. So it's going to be very useful for us, but it's gonna, gotta bend the curve there. There's a learning curve for sure, but I think everybody should definitely take a look at it. But don't think about, oh, the other problem is the old approvals process and how you would like have a homepage widget of my items to approve doesn't exist. That is not an option. There's an approvals app that you can access, that your users can access
Yep.
if they have a Salesforce a full license and not a platform license. Platform users cannot access the automation app. And then also there's a new, so that kind of approval element, these are all the little bugs, not bugs, but these are all the things I've dug up, shoveled through the pile of whatever you want to call it that I found. And they have work items. They have these things called work items, but you have to put it on the object, on the Lightning page, on the object, and you really can only approve it from that record. So there's a lot of little things that you'll notice for the end user. I think for the end user, it's really more of a struggle because as a current user, I'm just like, yeah, it's in an email. They can approve it. They can go here. They can go to Chatter. They can do these things. And now it's kind of like you have to go to the record. You have to go here. You have to go find this thing there. You have to be a certain user. So just that kind of coming up to term speed of that.
Could you? I thought that I saw a demo of the orchestration activities being a homepage component. No?
I haven't found it. So,
Okay.
But well, okay. I got started on it. I dug into it, and also everybody else, I got pulled to another thing, right? So I haven't gone back to it. It's been about a week and a half. I'm gonna get back to it, but yeah, we are like playing with how is my user going to approve things?
Sure.
Where do I need to put stuff? And I haven't been able to find a home page widget that exists in the Lightning but so I'm still digging through that. The other thing I didn't find was the ability to trigger an approval from a flow. Like it only triggers from what is it called? Like when you have this entry criteria, it'll do that. So I haven't been able to say, and I don't know if I just missed it, but to say, here's my flow. These things have been completed. Now I'm going to trigger an approval from the flow. It has to like save the record, and then that record matches the entry criteria for an approval, and then that approval process fires. So don't take that as gospel. I'm still digging through that to fully understand it, but that was my feeling and my understanding. And again, I've been doing this for a while, so I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying. I'm putting a presentation together too because this is bread and butter. This is gold bars right here. So I'm gonna get all the love. But yeah, it's So anyway, I was just curious if anybody else had experienced that as well. But it sounds a few people have tried and quickly looked aside, looked the other way.
I feel like a lot of folks have been tackling this. So Salesforce Ben and Andy and Tom have all taken a run at some of this, and a lot of sample demos, but like it's really hard to like wrap your head around it if you don't have a use case, if you can't test it and all that good stuff. So Christy, I don't know if you have any other resources that you want to throw in there, but those are those are the three that I like started with to kind of like get myself familiar with it, because like I can listen to one person explain it to me and I'm like, all right. And then the second person explains it to him, I'm like, oh, okay. And then the third person, and I'm like, oh, because they all like grab like different details about what they're talking about. And so then you have a broader perspective of what's going on instead of just like one person or like just the Salesforce technical writer that's outlined it. So I encourage you to keep digging in with that. And I believe there's a trailhead badge, but I don't know how spoon-fed that is and how much that works. I'm not certain, but I would encourage you to just keep digging and asking questions. And I really hope it works for you, because man, when the old approval process worked, it was just like it's beautiful, beautiful. It was like touchdown city. It was, it was like,
Touchdown City.
yeah, let me just tell you, like that's what I do when things work. It's a touchdown. It's like the people that used to share desk space with me in the cube farm that I worked in, they always knew when I was working on something because my hair would be like tied up in a ponytail on top of my head. They're like, don't talk to Joy, she's working on something. And then they'd see me and they'd be like, what's right? It's like, oh, it's working. The thing you asked for 2 weeks ago, it's finally working the way I wanted it to. Touchdown City. So all that stuff. Let us know how you become an expert, Michael, because if you're working on a presentation for it, then I know that there's a number of community group leaders here on the call who would love to have you present that at a meeting or at a
Yeah, I'll do my
conference
deep
near
dive.
you. I
Half
love it.
suitcase will travel. Although have
Fantastic.
Zoom, we'll sit. So.
Yes. Does anyone have any other questions? We had a question in the community group.
I can't open that link. I don't know why. What group is it in?
You can't, it's in the MVP group, maybe, or you know
I
what?
can't open it either. Something.
Rude. I know what happened. This is not in the group. I'm a total liar. So sorry, friends. One of my regular attenders at my Chicago admin group posted up and he tagged MVP office hours, and maybe that's the problem. So if
Was
you give me
direct to
I wasn't directed Joy. No,
Oh.
no. That's
All right.
terrible. That's terrible. Let's see. Presenter layout. Where are we going to go? Here, this one. Sure. All right. So make that bigger so y'all can see it. Yay. Oh, back. All right. So learning how to use my computer again. He's updating code that assigns due dates on tasks. And I know we have like 15 minutes to really think about this, but he's looking to start and reverse engineer from the overall due date. And so sometimes a task is due over the weekend, which means a team can come in on Monday and tasks are already due that they didn't even know about. If sales needs to have something back by the 12th and needs 3 days to review, the due date for underwriting would be the 9th. The code below needs to account for this, and ChatGPT gets confused counting backwards, but only up to a certain point. I really feel like there's like a weekday or a business day, or maybe it's a company. Is it like flexing holidays or something? I don't even know.
There is a day, like, so you can tell what day of the week it is, function that will come back
Yeah.
with a number, and either 0 through 6 or 1 through 7. I don't know. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. So
right.
you know
Like,
what day of the week it is, and then you can evaluate that, and then you can determine a plus or minus X number of days from it,
yeah.
based upon if it's a Friday or a Sunday or a Saturday. We did something similar to this in our org for a task follow-up, where we gave them 3 days, but if they, opened the task on Friday, we gave them Friday,
5
Monday,
days.
and Tuesday. Yeah.
Right.
It won't do anything about holidays though, because
Yeah, no, nothing with holidays though. No, you're too bad. And yep.
Yeah.
Just Monday through Friday.
Interesting.
I mean,
Interesting.
not to derail the conversation for the initial question just about weekends, but couldn't you for holidays, query the holiday table?
I think you could, but he's not asking about that specifically, but
Yeah.
it is one of those things that I'm like, I feel like is it company or business hours and the holiday table, I feel like we should be able to access those somehow, but
Yeah.
I'm
You could, but if you're doing it in a function like that,
Mhm.
a case statement, you can't.
Yeah, no.
All right. Well, my friend Jay, you have a start of an answer, and you can go from there, dude. I don't know. I'll see Jay in a couple days, weeks. I don't know. Jay always
Right.
shows up to my meetings.
Mind if I ask a quick question? I don't remember why we had to, but we ended up building a metadata table to
Mhm.
track all of our bank holidays and regular holidays for. Why didn't we use the holiday table? Can anybody think of a reason that you've said don't
You
do that?
Doesn't the
you may
holiday-
have you may have had more flexibility with the custom object. That's
Okay.
I'm
yeah.
just thinking banker holidays. There's way more banker holidays than there are regular holidays.
Sure. All right.
Well, and if you're querying the holiday table, that's an actual call, is where if you're using metadata, if I remember right, that's not actually a call. You just get the information returned.
Yeah, I don't think that was why, but good call out. Definitely, especially if you're processing a lot. I'm trying to think, like, why wouldn't we have just done it effectively the easy way? And it doesn't ring a bell. So, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It's good stuff. Do we have any other questions?
So I know Michael wanted to talk about sandbox best practices.
Ooh.
And there was a side comment, Christy, about action plans. I can tell you all about the trade-offs, but maybe not today, maybe for another call. Because we looked at both before we built our own.
Nice. Good to know.
So, Michael, sandboxes?
So, I mean, mostly I'm interested in discussion to hear what people consider sandbox best practices. I'll give you a little background of what like brought this top of mind. Let's call them subcontractor that I was working with, I said to them, please build me this thing. Go ahead and spin up your own sandbox to build it in, because they had access to prod, so they could create a sandbox. So they did, and they created a partial sandbox. And I was like, huh, that's weird. While I get it, they probably wanted some data to build their thing and test against. I was like, what sandbox template did you use? So do you even know that you have representative data with related records? And then also, PS, you've taken the one partial sandbox, which in the case of the client in question didn't matter. But what if we were in another one of my clients where they do use their partial sandbox? Or if you needed to refresh it in less than 5 days, or all the questions. So
That sounds like considerate, like just being a considerate developer, right?
sure. Yeah, and I don't think they were being inconsiderate. They didn't know, and they were like, huh, I don't really know sandbox best practices. And I was like, I mean, I have some practices I follow, but I don't know if they're best. I'd love to hear what other people think.
I think if you are a guest in an org, you take the lowest level sandbox that you can do your work in.
But that means
But
you have sandbox and it has no data. So what do people do about that?
well, and then you have you ask for, there's a whole, like, Cassie has a whole thing about like putting data in for nonprofit. I'll have to find it.
Yes, I know. I
The
helped
data
write it.
import
There you
wizard
go.
or whatever it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you ask for a chunk of data so that you can do the testing. But this is one of those things where people might say, oh, well, this is common courtesy. And then we say things like, well, it's not common, and people have to learn this stuff, and they don't learn it if you don't say anything. If you don't say anything, then you've just accepted the behavior and the boundary, and it happens again and again to the next person they encounter. And so, Michael, why did you let this happen? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so that being said, if you are a guest in someone else's org, ask the question. Don't just go like take the full sandbox. Don't take the partial sandbox, because that is like taking, the biggest, juiciest piece of chicken that's on the plate. You, like, when you're a guest in someone's house, you take the most modest thing that. Hi, Taco. Gosh, he's like 4 feet away from me and really upset about what's outside. I'm gonna stop. Anyone else have thoughts on that? Because
So many, but I talk a lot, so. I mean, I guess the things that come to mind, granted, I work in financial services where it feels like money grows on trees. The first thing I start asking is like, well, why aren't we masking? Why haven't we built a data factory? Why aren't you using your own backup? Like seeding functions. Those are all things that required both dollars and effort. And so like those are quickly off the list, but I think there's still good conversation. But I guess maybe the biggest thing is I don't know how I don't mean it snarky, but why would this group have access to prod to begin with?
And I mean, there are reasons. There were good
Okay,
reasons. I don't
reasons.
have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I guess like that's my first question is like the governance starts with why are they having access to prod in order to create the sandbox the wrong way, right? And then go from there. And I guess that maybe that's where I would maybe start the conversation, because it feels like their good reasons to have access to prod doesn't override your best intentions for the support and maintenance of the platform.
I'll fully own that it was lazy of me to say spin up your own sandbox rather than me spin it up and blah blah blah. But we all know, like, I spin it up and then I have to get them into it, and that's a pain in the ass. And
yeah, no, you're absolutely
then
right.
it would have had zero. Then they would have been like, I can't test this. There's zero data, which would have generated the conversation. But or maybe I would have put data in it for them. They didn't ask. But this is why I'm just I love to hear what people. Squire, you have access to data seeding. None of my clients have access to data seeding.
Yeah. And I'm going to put a step back really quick to say I definitely didn't mean to come off like, why the heck are you doing it that way, Michael? I really meant more like
I did.
If you were in the same boat, the things that you should be thinking about are, have we made the right decisions or set the right guide rails for anyone who has access? Make sure you're signing off on that and things like that. So I totally get it. Sometimes you just have to. Sometimes there's not enough time in the day to build data. I get it.
I also think that you likely granted them the professionalism that you thought they had. And you just were wrong with where you thought they were on that spectrum. Because I think that happens a lot with folks that, you hired them to do a thing and they have experience doing the thing, and you just have expectations that they're going to behave the way you would behave. And not, you see where I'm going. I mean, it happens all the time. But oh, now you can't see out the window, so you're not barking. Ha! I'm sorry. But I think that like the best practice is obviously like use the lowest value sandbox that you can, populate the data, and hopefully you have like some data sets that you can move over, that are, pretend maybe you have a favorite theme, like, Disney princesses, or what is the other thing? Oh, Harry Potter or Star Trek or Star Wars, or, pick your office friends, to fill in the blanks. But I do think that that is probably the best way to have folks work on your data. But it's really hard because I'm actually starting on a project where the people that are working in the sandboxes are absolutely positively 100% not allowed to see the production data at all. There is exactly 2 people who will see the developer environments and production, and that's it.
So talk about for us then how you're going to build your test data set to ensure that it is similar enough to production data. Like, is it the problem of one of those 2 people, or are they going to build some things in the sandbox and then show it to someone who does see production and say, is this like, how are you going to do that?
You're looking at one of the 2 people.
Right, but I assume, given that you're a consultant, right? I mean, because this happens to me all the time.
I'm actually in between windows here, so like we're just gonna like figure out what's going on. But I'm actually in between things. But it is all of the building people are not to see production. And the production people can see all of the building stuff, right? But they're not going to. And because it's sensitive information, it's no one else's business. Like we're not pushing it over. And so the idea is that we will create data sets that look a lot like the production data, but not quite. So we'll take out the details. We'll take out the, PII. I don't think there's PII. I think it's actually like customer sort of like company data, not PII, but you understand what I'm saying. So we'll just
Yeah.
have to make
And
up some stuff.
Are you then going to have some real users look at your fake data and say, yes, this is actually right enough, real enough?
I think so. I think
Okay.
so. I'm going to have to. Like that's the only way to do it. So.
I want to pause for a second and make sure, Pat, because she was going back and forth on the data factory, and I think it's a good thing just to call out for everybody to understand
Mhm.
what it is. So as the conversation has continued, does that become clear that a data factory is some automation or code in the background that creates accounts, contacts, opportunities, whatever it is, the objects you're using so that you have the information there? I want to hear what Squire says about the service part, but I know it mostly in the testing scenario that Michael's bringing up, where you have an empty sandbox. Well, now you have an empty sandbox with fake data in it that mimics the real stuff.
And when I said service, I was kind of generically talking about things like Own or I think demand cloud. No, one of those other tools. Like they used to have these. They would let you pull effectively the template that that a partial would use, but you could then obfuscate it and ensure that it is framed up in such a way that you can just click or say run it, and it just pushes in this obfuscated, masked, but functionally perfect data. And so if Tony Stark is the client name in your sandbox, you know that it's obfuscated, but you can still function for it. That it's the same thing. Well, it's just sometimes you got to build it.
Yep.
Sometimes you got a tool that does it. I'd even go one step back. Even sometimes a data factory is as dumb as I've got 6 CSVs that I load in a certain sequence manually.
Or 6 interns who sit there and type in some stuff.
Right. But like that's a data factory. It's just a really
It's a manual
wired
data
one.
factory.
Right. So, however
I
you
mean-
get that data source in order to do the build, in order to then get it to where it needs to go.
Well, and so to the ultimate why question that Pat had posed, I think it comes down to if we're all being the perfect admin and developer and actually doing proper CI/CD and sandbox to full,
Mhm.
you need at some point that data factory. And I think those who have deeper dev experience, you also could have data factories that include erroneous data to do negative testing in your deployments as well.
Absolutely.
Dirty data.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And I
On
believe
purpose.
I know.
if
I
you
hate
really
it.
get creative, has anybody used the data tree feature in SFDX to do data replication?
I have not.
Mm,
It
What's
was
that, Squire?
super painful, but it basically allows you to. Short version, we only have a couple minutes. Short version is from SFDX, you can effectively build a query that gets and builds the data hierarchy for a backload from VS Code or from Code Builder. Short version. There's a lot more to it than that. If you've got better tools, use the other tools. This is just a quick way. Especially if you're like a power dev, it makes perfect sense to do it that way. But I think admins would be, generically speaking, I don't mean to bash on admin. I love admin.
Hey.
Yeah,
That's me.
I'm an admin at heart. Some of those code front
Mhm.
tools are just, it's harder to do it than it is just get your 6 interns to type in data. So
Sometimes, depending on how many records you need,
right.
you have to balance it out. For me, like the data load, like magic number was 30. Like, do I like go through the headache of a data load, or I just like manually update these 30 records? Like that used to be like my magic number, and now it's much different. It's much lower now. Now I'm like, I don't have time for this nonsense. But man, I used to love a good list view. So that's about it for today, friends. But no other questions. You just came to hang out. I'm so glad. So glad. Everyone have big plans for the weekend? for the holiday weekend. I should have coming up because next time I see you, it's going to be holiday stuff. No big plans. Kathy, I need just
Traveling
one
up to
package.
Northeast Dreamin'. Who's going to Northeast Dreamin' on this call?
That was a leading question, Michael. You knew that. No, I was okay. Very excited to visit Boston. So that's coming up, but the everyone get outside, enjoy some green grass, and don't forget to tip your servers. Y'all are really ready to get back to work on a Friday. Today's the last summer Friday. Is that what's going on?
Well, I'm just curious, how many people got impacted by the flooding? I don't know how many people are local to the Midwest that are on the call.
I'm definitely Midwest. I didn't have any flooding.
So
Didn't have any
I've noticed
flooding.
that has been a big detractor from the energy for a lot of the calls that I've been on this week. Is a lot of us got hammered. So
Just you're dealing with a lot of water issues. Water. Well, you know what? I didn't have water issues. I just had, frightened dog issues because he doesn't like thunderstorms. I don't know if you all have met the dog, right? The 100-pound Labradoodle. He is terrified of thunder.
I used
And
to
wait.
have a dog like that. I had a 75-pound golden retriever, absolutely deathly afraid of thunderstorms. And so March to October, all I did was listen,
Oh yeah, just keep an eye on the thing. Irony of ironies, if you guys care to know, one more small detail about Joy is my childhood dog's name was also Thunder. So,
fun.
my adult dog's name is Taco. My childhood dog's name was Thunder. I don't know what the next one's going to be, but like I'm sure it'll be afraid of tacos. Like I don't. That's all I
Hey, I
got.
went to the University of Alabama yesterday, Tuscaloosa. I'm in
Yes,
Montgomery right now, so I could see the big old stadium.
that's
So,
exciting.
and the
That's
Bear Bryant Museum.
That's fantastic. All right, friends. Well, you have a great last couple days of summer, and we will see you when summer's officially over after Labor Day.
I appreciate every one of you. I'll never be
Thank
able
you.
to say thank you enough.
Thank you. We love seeing you all. We'll see you next time.
Bye all.
Bye, friends.
Thanks. Bye.